All right, so here was the Unit 3 test. So I'm going to read this and I'm going to find the most important information. It says, your family is moving into a new home here in sunny Tucson, Arizona. You realize that Arizona is a great state to take advantage of solar energy because of our endless summers. So this is apparently going to be about solar energy. And it really is, there's more money to be made in solar energy in Arizona than any other resource. There's billions and billions of dollars that are going to come in. You decide to do some research for your family to find the most cost-effective option for your new home. Okay, so this is what we're trying to do. Cost-effective option. So this word option is a clue that we're going to pick between different things and figure out which one. This word cost-effective, that means the cheapest. Okay, so cost-effective means I'm trying to figure out which one of the companies is the cheapest, and options, that means I'm picking between different things for your new home. You find that solar energy companies charge, okay, so here's the first piece of information, and I'm going to use blue. They charge $9,000 to install the solar panel, and then the average monthly bill is $10 after the installation. So the monthly bill is $10. So let's make a table of comparisons. The solar energy is $9,000 to start with. So solar energy is very expensive to start with, and then the monthly electricity bill is only $10. Well, that makes sense. The whole point of putting the solar energy on there is that you don't have to pay the electric bill. All right, so the solar energy on this side was very expensive to start with, and then it was inexpensive for every month. So the question is, do you want to invest that $9,000 for the solar energy? So that's what we're trying to pick between here. So then the other option, so there were again two different options that we have to choose from. And then it says regularly the electric utility, which is TEP, that stands for Tucson Electric Power, charges $150. So this is TEP. In the future, I'm going to refer to that as the utility company. Charges $150 to install new customers, which is kind of expensive, but not $9,000. And then new customers. So new customers here, $150. That's to start with. So that's the installation fee. So TEP will charge you $150 to get the truck out, and then somebody flips a switch and they charge you $150 for it. And then after they install it, it's $110 per month. All right, so our comparison could start with just which one. So the first thing that we could compare is just this big number here at the beginning, the $9,000. It seems like that's really expensive and you'd rather do TEP, but what if you own the house for a really long time, like 30 years? So eventually, the $110 every month, which is way more than the monthly cost, is going to catch up with you. And the question is, which is the cost-effective option? So we need to figure out, when would solar power be better than electric power? All right, so let's use our representations to try to figure that out. Solar energy was $9,000 to start with, and then every month it adds $10 more. So the first one is $9,000 plus 0 times 10. So there were no months here, so that's $9,000 to start with plus no months so far. Okay, I just went away for a second to make the calculation. So the first one, this starts at $9,000 and then it goes up $10 every time. So the next one is $9,000 to start with plus 12 months times 10. 9,000 plus 24 times 10. 9,000 plus 60 times 10. And then this last one is 96. Notice that this is not a constant interval. So we're not going to have the same amount going up here. 96 times 10. I'm trying to make this as neat as I can. It's kind of small. Okay, so let me put that into a calculator, and what I get out is 9,120. And then this one, 9,240, 9,600, and $9,960. Okay, so that's always less than $10,000. So even though it starts at $9,000, which is expensive, it goes up pretty slowly. The function rule is $9,000 to start with, plus, okay, so it's always $9,000, and it's always times 10, and the months goes here, so that's the input. Let me use M for months, so that's plus the number of months times 10. All right, let's use a different color here. Just to go back, the summary again, solar was $9,000 to start with and $10 a month, and TEP is $150 to start with, and it's going to go up $110 every month. Okay, so let's go ahead. All right, so in our comparison of the two different options, the first option was solar energy, and then the second option is going to be the utility company. Now this one starts at $150, which is cheap to start with. So comparing where they start with, this one's cheaper, but it's going to go up much faster. So $150 to start with. Now this installation fee you always have to consider. It's not fair to compare the two things unless you're comparing the total cost. That means it includes installation and the monthly fee. So $150 is always going to be added to our calculation. So let's see. Okay, so it's $150 to start with, and then instead of times 10 every month, it's times 110 every month. So times 110, and the reason why this is still just $150 is that it's times 0. There's no month so far. 110 times 12 times 24 times 60 times 96 months. Okay, so on my calculation, I've got for 12 months, that's already $1,470. So even though it was cheap to start with, it's already getting pretty expensive. And then 24 months was $2,790. And then 60 months, $6,750. And then after 96 months, it's jumped all the way up to $10,710. All right, so that's more than $10,000. So even though getting energy from the utility company is cheap to start with, eventually it becomes more expensive than the solar energy. So that's what it means when it says compare the two options, which is the most effective option. It depends. If you're going to live in the house for 12 months, then you would want to pay this one because it's only $1,000. But if you're in your house for a long time, you'd want to pay this one because it's cheaper on the long run. So the function rule for the utility company, $150 to start with, plus $110 per month. Notice that I switched the order. That's perfectly fine. It's just m times 10, m times 110. All right, and now we need to compare these two on a graph. Notice that we're expecting the red line to be more than the orange line after 96 months. So let's see. The domain is this number here, these numbers here. I'm going to put a D for domain over there. It goes from 0 to 96, so I'm going to use 100. 0 to 100. Oops, I just moved the video instead of putting 100. And then 25, 50, 75, 100. And then this axis down here is months. And then up and down, it needs to go all the way up to 10,000, maybe 11,000. I'm just going to put 10,000 up here. And I know that's a bad idea, but I'm just going to put the last dot up here at the top. So let's see. This is going to be 2,500. 5,000, 7,500, and then 10,000. Okay, and this is the cost. I'm just going to put dollars. And then orange was for the solar energy company. It starts all the way up here at 9,000. So let's see, that's about let's see, 5. That's 8,000, 8,500. 9. Okay, so this is 500 each time. 9,000 is right here. Okay, 12 months is halfway, and 12 months is just a little bit ahead of that. 24 months, still just a little bit ahead of that. 96 months, I'm going to make sure I get this one right. 96, just underneath 10,000. All right, and that's enough to make a line. Okay, so I connect these with as straight a line as I can. And then that's going to be the cost of the solar energy. So it starts expensive, but then it goes up very slowly. And then for the other energy company, it starts way down here really cheap. Whoops, I'm drawing a line. It starts down here really cheap, but then it goes up much faster. 14, so that's about 12 months is here, and 14, a little bit more than halfway. 24, a little bit more. And then 96, I'm going to skip all the way to 96. It's way up here. Right there. Okay. I'm going to use a dotted line for that company. Okay. So if I wanted to label these, this would be solar here, and the other one would be the utilities. And this point right here at 90 months is how long it would take for the solar energy to pay for itself. So the answer to your question is use solar energy if you're there for more than 90 months, because then it's going to be cheaper. But if you're not there for very long, use the utility company. All the way down here, use the utility company. All right, so last thing we need to do is use some pieces of evidence. It says, would you recommend solar panels or TEP provide two specific pieces of evidence? So those evidence need to have numbers. So you could say something about after 90 months, then solar is cheaper. Or you could say that TEP gets to be more than $10,000 after 96 months. Whatever it is that you argue has to have numbers. When I say specific pieces of evidence, I mean you must cite two different numbers. Okay, so that's the solution for the last part. All right, thank you.